Now, Downing Street says the Prime Minister is concerned by accusations that the government is profiting from the premium rate telephone numbers. A total of 208 million calls were made in the past year to government services, including the Department for Work and Pensions and HM Revenue and Customs. Of the 365 different numbers people dialed, 120 charge premium rates. 59 of them were set up specifically to help people on low incomes. Well, let's talk about this issue. We're joined here by David Hickson, who's from the Fair Telecoms campaign. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for coming in. Margaret Hodge is saying that taxpayers are being ripped off. Do you think she's right?
Yes, she is right, because when we pay through our taxes for government services, we don't expect to have to pay again when we access them as a service charge on our telephone calls. These 084 telephone numbers that we're talking about include some component which is a charge paid by the caller to the benefit of the person called, in this case the government. Whether you call it profit or not, it's still a financial benefit.
Well, yes, because the Department of Work and Pensions is keen to point out that it's not profiting from this, but is it true that some of that money will get through to government, some of it to the companies that run the phone lines?
It does precisely. That on an 0845 number, 2p a minute applies as a discount to the government on the cost of using those numbers. And that's at the expense of callers. So whether you call it profit, whether you call it subsidy, whether you call it negative cost, it all comes to the same thing.
So what's the alternative?
They have to move to the 03 numbers. These are numbers which have all the same advanced facilities as the 084 and 087 and other expensive numbers, but they are charged at exactly the same rate as, if any, as you would pay to call on their 1 or an 02 number. So while we're often warning people about being robbed, we can say 03 numbers are perfectly acceptable. That's where everybody should be moving from the 084s, and indeed the Select Committee said they should do it within 12 months. We see no reason why they shouldn't.
And is there a process of that underway already?
The Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs have already largely made the move. They're still covered by the report because of the period that it addresses. They have largely made the move. We now need Department for Work and Pensions and all the other government departments, and indeed local authorities and other public bodies who are delivering government services, to all do the same. Come off 084 onto 03, and indeed businesses are going to have to do that shortly as well.
Yes, and it has been pointed out that some of the society's most vulnerable are the people who are paying these costs. It's people on benefits, people who are ringing victim support and ringing the bereavement service as well. So before these changes are made, do they have any alternatives? Are there other ways of getting through to the services they need?
It is wrong from top to bottom. In some cases there are sneaky ways of getting alternative numbers, but again, when we talk about vulnerable people, these are typically the people who don't have access to the internet to find alternative numbers and things like that.
You can search on the internet, can you, to find out alternative direct lines, maybe?
There are ways of doing it in some cases, but we mustn't allow that to be the solution. The government must move swiftly, put this problem right, because it is not fair, it is wrong, it's been identified as being wrong. We've been saying this for many years, it's now been clearly recognised. The time has come to make the change.
OK, David Hickson, thank you very much indeed for your views.